Alright, boys and girls, we're here at the Classic Expo. Early arriver. We're going to try to sneak in at 11:30 when they finally open the doors. It is, well, it's 11:30, so hopefully they're going to let us in pretty soon. I'm going to take y'all to the expo today. We should have some fun. So check this out, guys. I'm walking around the Vexus. There's our homeboy, Derek Mundy from Rayburn, right there on their big banner. That's cool. Congratulations, Derek. Looks like you won a little money. All right, so I'm going to just kind of give you guys a walk around some of the sites I saw there at the Classic. I went up there purely as a fan. I had two meetings, short meetings with sponsors I had to make, but I didn't have to work at all. So there's Mr. Rick Clunn. One of the two longest lines for autographs. By the way, Mr. Clunn is now with both 6 Sense Fishing as well as Waterland Fishing Optics. So you can see they had a booth set up there. You can get Mr. Clunn's signature. And then right not far from him was another guy, Mr. Bill Dance, and I'm just really excited to see Bill Dance there as well. And then we just wandered around a bunch and had a really great time. A little bit of everything there. Now, I went to the Classic in Fort Worth, and I had been told that because of the breakup of that building maybe wasn't the best Classic venue. I will say I enjoyed this one more. Now, next year, I think the Fort Worth Convention Center will be finished when it's back in Fort Worth, so I'm really looking forward to that one. But I mean, just the bait companies, truck companies, boat companies. I'm gonna show y'all two of the prettier boats, and I kind of filmed them as a ha-ha on Moon Pie, but I'm gonna show them to you here in a minute. Two of the prettier boats I saw in the show were ones I was shooting for Moon Pie. So and again, every fishing related vendor there is in the business was there. It was a lot of fun. A lot of my video you can't see because there's a beer can in front of it. That's my buddy Kevin from Arkansas, who you're going to see here in a minute, having a little bit of fun with me. And Kevin was supporting the local economy, buying stuff as well, as did I, by the way. Then I wandered over towards the Yamaha booth, and look at there. There's a familiar face, Mr. Todd Driscoll, Texas Park and Wildlife's home, standing right there. By the way, y'all, Todd's about to retire from Park and Wildlife really soon. I think we're going to be competing with him a lot more in the near future. Had a really nice visit with Todd. It was fun to see him up there. By the way, so I could not pass this up. This is a Spro, it's just called a Spro 6-inch swim bait. It's a discontinued bait, and I've had several of them over the years. It's always been a fish catcher for me, and they quit making it. And so the tails will get knocked off of them, either through fishing or slapping the water or just use. And you can't get them anywhere. You can't get the replacement tails anywhere. I'm wandering through the Spro booth, and they have, I think there were 12 of them hanging on a peg there. They're all the fast sinkers, which is not what I want, but they retailed for $24, $25 a piece. They had them on clearance for $3.99. So I bought every one they had, which is those 7 or 8 laying there, and then I've got some more in my hand here, just to strip the tails off of them for future use on the slow sink swim bait. So I spent a little money up there myself. And you know, I had to wander over through the Bass Cat booth, and long before I ever owned a Bass Cat, I always said they had some of the most beautiful glass on their boats, and this is a perfect example. This is the new Caracal STS, a gray with a blue stripe. Just an absolutely beautiful boat, but not the prettiest boat there. I have always loved, Charlie Hammock used to run a white boat with a red stripe, and I never could run that. I don't keep my boats clean enough. I've owned some white boats, and they look terrible all the time because I don't keep them clean enough. This, however, this light silver with this red stripe in it, I think is one of the prettier Bass Cats I've ever seen. I just think that is an absolutely beautiful boat. I love the setup. I love the red picking up through the motor. That's a beautiful boat. And that is, I believe that's a Puma. Is that right? Yeah, that's a Puma STS sitting right there. So I thought that was an absolutely stunning boat. And I also, again, I would never own one just because I'm not a guy who pulls the boat out and then immediately wipes it down. But this boat is spectacular looking. So this is a solid white boat with a black stripe with some silver in it. And again, I wish I kept a boat clean enough to run a Cougar that looks like that. But I thought that was one of the prettiest boats in the show. Certainly one of the prettiest Bass Cats in the show. But they're all good looking, and gosh, that's just a really pretty boat to me right there. And then last but not least, I've always thought Basscat did a really pretty red boat, and there it is, red with the white Thunderbolt in it. Uh, Also a really, really pretty boat. So they had some really good looking rigs. Actually, all the boat manufacturers did. They all had some pretty boats. I'm going to show y'all a Skeeter. I'm going to show y'all an Icon. And I'm going to show y'all a Camus that are really good looking boats here. Actually, let's do that right now. So when I met Moon Pie many years ago, he ran a dark colored Legend with green stripes on it, and it had bright green windshields on it. So anytime I see a green boat, it immediately makes me think of Moon Pie. And I think there's a Moon Pie boat. And this is so funny. As you guys know, Moon Pie is now running a Camus. And I'm just bobbing around, wandering through the Camus space. And lo and behold, here comes, look at this thing right here. Shot most of this footage just with a GoPro 12 Black on a chesty, but I had my good Fuji mirrorless camera, and when I saw this boat, I thought, man, I got to film it. I've never considered a green boat. That is a really pretty boat. That is a Moon Pie colored green right there. The first time I ever saw a green boat was actually in Oklahoma fishing tournament many years ago, and it was a Legend. A guy had put some Army stuff on it. It was kind of a military boat, and it was a really good looking boat. So I like this boat, and it's funny. So I saw this one, and then kind of walked around a corner looking at some other boats, wandered into the Skeeter booth, and unbelievably, there sits another, I think, good looking green boat. And, again, I never have owned one. I probably am not going to own one. But I kind of like some of these flat colors where you don't have a ton of metal flake on. That's a pretty boat, I thought. So I thought, you know what? Let's film it, and we'll tell Moon Pie they made a Skeeter for him as well. Okay, now I'm just going to throw this out because they were not doing demos while I was there, but I was real curious about it. So this is the Power Pole Move trolling motor. And apparently they have designed it. I don't know if it's a button flip or what. I wish I had been there again when they were talking about it. But when you're moving forward, there's a way to, I guess, desensitize the foot pedal or slow the steering down so that it's easier to steer when you're using forward-facing sonar. That's that sonar steady steer thing it talks about right there. So if you're a huge forward-facing sonar guy, that might be something worth looking into because, it is tricky when you're steering your trolling motor if you're really trying to pinpoint a fish because trolling motors move back and forth so quickly. So that's something worth investigating if that would be something that you're interested in. And, as I said, I was there purely as a fan. And when you're wandering through the crowd and Rick Pierce is talking to Bass Fishing Hall of Fame member Bob Cobb and Shaw Grigsby's chatting with him as well, you snap a photo. It was so much fun. And you want to talk about just a nice, gracious, humble guy, check this out. I'm smart enough to know when I see three legends, I'm going to take a picture. So. Bob Cobb,
nice
Ken Smith. Very nice to meet you, sir. And then we found a little bit different view. We got into the Yeti beer garden balcony and had a couple of frosty cold beverages with the folks from Yeti. And this is a view. So there were I guess there were 4 big rooms like this that everything was in. And this is just one of them. And lo and behold, I'm standing there and I look down and I'm like, well, that guy looks kind of familiar, even though this is an odd view of him. Yep, there's the main man right there, KVD, signing autographs. He stood there and was gracious and took autographs and took pictures, person after person after person, man. What a nice guy. Pretty properly lubricated, we walked over to the Mercury booth. This is a 500R with a cutaway, which this drove Kevin Tracy trying to figure out exactly what went right there. Some kind of a cooling coil it looked like, but that is one great big beast of a motor. 400 racing. There's also a 60 racing, which we chuckled. We just put a new 60 horse on our pontoon boat, our brush boat, and we said we probably should have put the 60R on there. But then, speaking of beast, this thing right here is just something pretty amazing. This is the 600 horsepower, I believe V12 Verado, or the lower unit. The top of the motor stays still, and the lower unit is how it turns. And I mean, that thing's huge. It's got to be 10 feet at least from the bottom to the top. So something crazy. Now, the last thing we did that I'm going to show you guys was not very nice, but kind of funny. We had seen this young man, this is Trey McKinney, wandering around with his mom there in tow at the show, signing autographs and meeting and greeting. And if you don't know who this young man is, he just won the Bassmaster Venom Fork. He's fished 11 events. He's made the money 9 times and he's won, which is just unbelievable. This guy's got a ton of talent. And Mr. Treese and I, you know, it's funny to be starstruck by, I guess, probably a 19-year-old, 18 or 19-year-old, but we got tickled. And so this is Kevin and my interaction with Trey. And by the way, he took this as a complete sport. He seemed like a really nice guy.
Can we buy you a beer or box of juice?
Unfortunately not.
How about a box of juice?
Hey, there you go. Come on. Yes, sir.
Appreciate
Hey,
it,
I can do
bud.
that.
We're enjoying watching you fish, brother.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Good
brother.
stuff.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, we're
Nice
learning,
seeing you.
but we're having a look over your shoulder.
Yeah, well, thank you, buddy. Yes, sir.
Lean in.
So anyway, had a great time. Got to see some of my Oklahoma buddies here. Had dinner with one of them, Chris there on the right, that evening, and then turned around and come home the next morning. I got to say the only negative out of the whole trip was I parked on this street right here along with everybody else. And thank you, City of Tulsa, for the $35 parking ticket when there is not a no parking sign anywhere on this street. But I'm not driving back to Tulsa, Oklahoma to argue it, so guess I'll pay them. But in the future, if you invite the country to come to your town, maybe you don't write everybody parking tickets for parking on the street where there's no signs.